Okay, so we're live. So welcome everyone who's joining us from home, anyone who's joining into our live broadcast. So this is the first in a series for the Global Sourcing Council 3S Awards called What's Your Story? Checking in with the 3S Award winners. So the premise of the series is we're going to be touching base with all of the winners of the 3S Awards that we host every year, and hearing a little bit more about their story, how they got started, and what advice they could give other potential entrepreneurs in the future. So first, I'm just going to touch on what is the Global Sourcing Council for anyone who's joining us for the first time. So the Global Sourcing Council is a leading organization. We focus on sustainable, socially responsible global business with a focus on supply chain practices. So we inspire and empower organizations and businesses around the globe to operate responsibly and develop innovative solutions to pursue profit with purpose. So the 3S Awards is our annual awards that aim to empower small to mid-sized business enterprises. So it was established in 2008, and we've gone ever since. We have different categories for the awards. So today, I'm joined with Jessica Matthias, who is the VP of Strategic Business Development for Coffee Flour, who's the 2017 winner for Climate Change and Natural Resources, this category, which recognizes enterprises working to directly address climate change and environmental issues. So, welcome, Deepika. Thanks so much for taking the time for this conversation. So, to start, we just wanted to hear a little bit more about Coffee Flour. So, if you could tell us your story, how did Coffee Flour begin? Where did you kind of come in as well into Coffee Flour, and kind of tell us your story and your progression?
Great, yeah. Well, Coffee Flour is a business that started about 3 years ago. Started by Dan Beliveau. He's an ex-Starbucks engineer. Was one day in an origin country in a coffee mill, and someone asked him, "What can I do with this, pile of waste, this pulp? It's a real environmental nuisance. It rolls into the streams. It's a problem for us." So he started thinking. And kind of created a process of drying the pulp and milling the pulp into a nutrient-dense flour. So, and there's where the business really took off. So this really was about 3 or 4 years ago, and the business started about 3 years ago. I joined the company about a year ago, really as an evolution in my career in international development. So about 20 years ago, I started my international development career at the World Bank. Really, that's government-to-government loans to do big infrastructure projects. As that industry has evolved, though, my career evolved with it. And I went into public-private partnerships at an NGO. Now I'm in this great social enterprise and really feel like the whole social enterprise space is the new way of development, where you create sustainable businesses that are profitable, but give out massive social impact and global impact across the globe. So it's a great honor to be part of this organization, and part of sort of the forefront of the new way of doing development.
Absolutely. So one thing that we talk a lot about at GSC is the Sustainable Development Goals. So I think part of the Sustainable Development Goals, one of the cornerstones, is the fact that we need social enterprises, nonprofits, and kind of a network of different entities working together to solve these development issues. So it's great to hear you say that. One question that we wanted to get on, which is, Coffee Flour has this idea where it's really transforming a food system and kind of turning it on its head. So kind of generally, what do you see as what's wrong with the food systems that we have today?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest issues in the food system today is the amount of waste in that food system. So, waste from the point, sort of agriculture, actually to the point of consumption at a consumer and retail level. And Coffee Flour really fits into that space. We're trying to prevent the waste or a byproduct from being wasted. So basically upcycling waste to create a food product and kind of bring a new source of nutrition to the world by doing so. There's a lot of data out there now about the adverse effects of food waste on the environment, particularly carbon emissions. And we know that, for every pound of food that's rotting in a landfill, about 1/3 of a kilogram of CO2 equivalent emissions is generated. And so, thinking about just the waste in the coffee stream, just from the cherry alone, Most people don't realize, but the bean is actually the seed of the cherry, and once removed, that cherry is thrown, and that's what we intersect. We take that, and instead of it going into a landfill, we dry it and bring it a new nutrition source. So, just thinking about the waste from coffee alone, it actually contributes about 0.2% of the world's carbon emissions. That's one product and one industry. So it's a significant amount of carbon that we're removing from the environment through this business model.
That's great. So you touched on the positive environmental issues that coffee flower is addressing, and the positive impact you have on the environment. So what about communities? How is coffee flower helping to empower communities as well? Because when it comes to development and sustainable development and thinking about this idea, you need to really do both. So how is coffee flower empowering?
Right. So as a second product moving through a coffee milling community, typically it's just the green bean that's being dried, it's separated, dried, and sent on. We're bringing a second product, and a second product requires more labor to dry it, to clean it, to bag it, to ship it. And so we're creating jobs in coffee growing communities across the globe. And significantly, we're creating them in a way that empowers women as well, because the coffee pulp is just easier to push around than beans are. And so, we create a lot of jobs for women in these communities. And so amazing job creation opportunity through this business model. We're also ensuring that the farmers who actually grow the coffee cherries are getting paid additionally for their cherries. So it's not just the bean it's the value of that cherry, it's the whole cherry. And so they're getting some incremental income from that as well, without any additional labor. Income and job creation within communities is really helping these communities grow.
Great. So moving away from the environmental and the social aspects, and kind of going more in the broader sense and the mission of GSC, we would like you to share what one piece of advice could you have for other upcoming social enterprises, being in the field for so long and now working with coffee flower. What kind of advice would you share with someone that's interested in getting in this space?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that when you're looking at funding a social enterprise, look very widely. You can get money from traditional investors and also from grantors, the folks that, really have some of the same development objectives in line with what your business is doing. So look across the spectrum, and there are also, foundations that make program-related investments, of course, they're sort of in between that. But I think we're just widening the lens as to who can fund and who can be supportive of an organization that has specific social objectives is a really important way to kind of bring the sectors together. And I actually think that funders theoretically know this. The VCs and the grantors know that sometimes their monies could be used more effectively together, but I think it takes a social enterprise to really analyze that and bring those streams together to really prove out sort of the amplification of the dollars that are going into business and development today. So really just one piece of advice is just look broadly for sources of income and bring the sectors together through your business.
Great, thank you. So I only have a few more minutes left, but before we go, I want to ask you, so what does pursuing profit with purpose mean to you? This is kind of like a tagline of GSC that we really believe in, pursuing profit with purpose. I think that's really important for transforming our economy in the future. So what does this mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Really, it's this idea of intentionality, that there's some intention behind your business, it's intention as well as widening that profit. So yes, you need to be a profitable business to survive, but there are others in that value chain that can profit as well. And profit doesn't always need to be seen in terms of dollars. So I see profit with purpose being some intentional effort to ensure that others in the value chain are also profiting. So in describing coffee flower, ensuring that the communities are profiting through that job creation element. We can also leave a lot of our flour at origin country in order to ensure that nutritional impact can be had in those communities. So that's a way to profit, ensuring there's profit beyond the business. And then there are others, across that value chain that can profit as well. So I do think there's just a widening of how we see profit and making sure it goes beyond just the entity itself.
Great. So before we go, if you could just answer what's next for Coffee Flower, and then tell everyone who's watching where they can go to learn more.
Okay. Well, Coffee Flower is still an early business, but we're really hoping to expand our supply chain globally. Right now, we have operations in Latin America, a couple of some operations in Asia. But we really hope to expand into Africa at some point as well. So really expanding the supply chain, which helps for us. It helps to diversify our risk in obtaining support from anyone, but it also helps to share that global story of that job creation across the globe. We also hope to grow on the demand side of our business and getting more companies, beverage companies, to recognize sustainable ingredients and incorporate our story into theirs, and really take on sustainability and stewardship of the environment and their supply chains. So we hope to grow as a business globally, both from the supply and the demand side. And to learn more, you can go to our website, www.coffeeflower.com.
Great. So thank you so much, Deepika. And before we go, so this is the first, as I said before, the first in our What's Your Story series with all of our winners from the 3S Awards. So if you're interested in helping organizations like Coffee Flower do good in the world and pursue profit with purpose, please donate to our Entrepreneurs Development Fund at www.gsc3sawards.com/donate. In addition to your donation, please check out all the videos from all the other finalists on our website, at the 3S Awards website, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see the next episode of What's Your Story, checking the 3S Award winners. So thank you, Deepika, once again.
Thank you so much.
To see what's next for Coffee Flower. So thanks so much.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Bye.